All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's up, everybody? Back at it here on a Wednesday in the baseball streets. So, hey, getting a little thin. We got some football action going on, but we enjoy all you football folk coming into our world that we've been grinding ever since April, BJ. It does seem like it went by really super fast, but I guess that's what happens when you're having fun. But, man, I'll tell you what, last night wasn't too bad. I think we weren't too far off on a lot of the things we discussed. Diamondbacks didn't do shit. I know you like the Rockies. They put up a big number. Even my Wagaman dude, 2000 guy, hit another homer that I jammed in at third base. So I was kind of happy with that. Lance Lynn did decent. Wheeler, Reagans, it kind of went as we discussed. But today – we got an earlier show, 3:00. I have to apologize. That's because I bowl at 4:30. So got to get that shit in a little earlier. But, hey, we got a 6:30 start time, too. So we haven't had one of them in a minute, 6:35 start time. So definitely make sure you get all that checked out. I think, what do we got? There was like a couple games there. 4 games, I think? 6 games that start before 7:10. So don't be forgetting about them when it's pretty easy to get caught up in your normal routine and forget shit. Baseball lock 30 minutes earlier. Damn it. But BJ, just kind of looking at this one, looks like we got 2 minor weather spots that we're going to have to just keep our eye on. So always make sure you keep an eye on the weather. It looks like we got the San Francisco-Baltimore game. Looks like a little late showers. Washington-Mets game. Looks like there could be. I know Roth over there at Roto Grinders has them both at yellow. So usually the orange is what you worry about, but just a little bit concerned. A couple times this season, PPD comes out of nowhere and bites you in the ass. But so just those 2 games. We got a lot of games here to talk about. 12 whopping games here all the way across baseball. I do like to just glance over at the over-unders real quick. Looks like we got a 6.5 low over there in Houston. In San Diego, we do have a handful of 7s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh, count the 6.5, 6, 7 games out of the 12. More than half the games are at 7 or less. So obviously we're going to see some pretty good pitching here today, which, man, when you glance at it, it's definitely pretty obvious that, we got some pretty decent pitching. Just looking at it real quick here, BJ. Skubal, Gray, Cease, Valdez, Peralta, Nola, Beebe, Schwellenbach, Miller. We got some pretty good pitchers here we're going to be able to talk about. Before we get into it, how we doing today? I know, hey, we only got 26 people here at the beginning here today. So I know yesterday I went in that rant about my ass killing me. That's okay. I got no shame, man. I'll talk about it. I don't give 2 shits. Maybe somebody will learn about it. But, yeah, doing a little better. Feeling a little better today. Each day goes on. I will say the bathroom trips can be quite interesting at times, but hey, I'm through it. I'm alive. I don't care. I'm enjoying baseball. Summer's here. My ass is getting on a plane here in 2 days. I'm flying to Arizona, going to the Lions game out in Arizona. Going to hang with my boy Title. Going to hang out with Hoop, who's going to be out there. Wife, some friends, family is going to be a great time. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. But be nice to have a couple extra little shekels like we got yesterday in our account. So, BJ, let's get at it. But how's your day going? How was your last night's slate for you?
It was good. Like you said, we were really close. We survived the Diamondbacks fade. Rockies were there. We talked a little bit about some Mets righty power. Then they threw out an all right-handed lineup and scored 10. So, leading up to that, the Bassett start, really the first 2 innings weren't bad. But an error here and Bassett kind of cost me my night. But hey, what are you going to do? It was a great night, wake up today. And if you're in the Discord early with us on the 3 gamer fading fade and steal. They just took him out of the game today after 2 innings. So, 60% owned on the early slate. We're looking pretty good for a little A's power that's coming up. So, we're going to talk some baseball here, make some lineups, and I'm cruising in the car. We're going down to LA. My lady got us a little 2-day getaway for the birthday. So we're going to go hang out down there. Yeah. We're excited. So go down there and then do some baseball, do some football. It doesn't get any better than that.
Hell no. Good times. Good times. You got your good lady there getting you all set up there for your birthday. That's for sure. But yeah, I mean, yesterday we talked a little bit about the A's. Langoliers hits 2 bombs, hits a bomb in the first inning. We talked about, the A's. I mean, shit, they had the second highest game total yesterday, sitting at an 8.5. I mean, the next one was 11.5. So, I mean, you take that game off the slate. I mean, what were we going to be left with? A bunch of 7 games. I mean, like today, as I mentioned, we got 7 games in the 7 out of the 12, 7.5 or less. I mean, that's some thin pickings there. I mean, the high over under. I mean, what are we looking at here? Miami and the Dodgers sitting there at 9. So, I mean, today a little bit more condensed, but obviously we're getting later in the season here. Pitching's getting a little better. Guys' leashes are a little shorter. I mean, I think we kind of saw it yesterday, like I talked about with Casey Mize and the Tigers. I mean, they're fighting for their playoff lives. He got in trouble there in that 4th inning, and he's gone. I mean, he's going to come out. So, teams fighting for playoff spots. I mean, like we mentioned, rosters a little deeper after September. So, you got a lot more guys in the bullpen, got a lot more guys on the bench. So it's easier to play matchups. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a fun time of year in baseball. Being a Tiger fan right now is fun. We haven't had any meaningful baseball in a long time. And for them to take the first 2 from the Royals these first 2 days, especially beating Cole Reagans, is that's huge. And now we get to bounce back with Scooble today for the sweep. I mean, what more can you ask for as a Tiger fan? I mean, we could only be 1 game behind the Royals, who are in the second wild card spot. We could literally be a half game behind the Twins. So it's going to be bunching up here in the American League. I know Seattle's in the bunch here. Boston's in the mix. So we got 6 teams fighting for some spots. So
yeah,
a lot of fun.
Same way over here too. I mean, Padres last night, I wanted to talk about it. We got a comment earlier, I'll throw it up there. Manning was fired up. You got Altuve taking off his shoe, then getting tossed. Immediately I thought of the what's his name? Gosh, Beverly, Patrick Beverly. Giving the camera to the ref. Kind of showing him there.
Yeah.
But Altuve gets tossed, but Patrick Beverly just gets a tease. So, no, man, we got meaningful baseball everywhere. Like I said, as soon as Reagan's finish up the game, and I was kind of out of contention. I thought, man, that'd be a nice little win for them. You guys snuck one out, hoping us the same. And, to talk specifically about my team, the Padres, I mean, man, we're in a playoff game here tonight, 6.5 over under, Valdez and Cease. I hate to say it, but I mean, I'm probably taking Valdez and the Astros, but we'll get to that. But man, this is a fun time of year. What do we have? A week and a half, 2 weeks left?
Yeah, so I mean, we're getting down to the nitty gritty. I mean, of course, we got football. We got all kinds of fun shit going on here at SHIPIT Nation. We got football, MMA, obviously our golf crushes when that's on. But I mean, we're due for a Hoop 50K MMA winner. It's like them are going on every week here for a while. But I mean, a lot of fun. Football's a lot of fun, man. Congrats to our boy Rio out there. Shipped 100K the other day in the showdown. On a stat correction yet. That's never happened to me in my 12 years of playing DFS. I've never won more money because of a stat correction. So maybe one day that'll happen for me. But, I mean, if it went the other way, I guess that would be even worse. But I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat real quick. Michael W. in the house, Gator Nation, Marquee Music Group, Coach Sav in the house that he came in 29th, made some money off his. We always appreciate the love back, but good for you. You made the lineup. We just gave you a little bit of our insight, but you still clicked all the players. Good job there. Jake Swalls also in the house. I know there's 35 of you. Appreciate you guys joining us a little bit earlier today, 3:00, as I mentioned. I'm going to try to give it a go at bowling today. I see my man. How can you bowl with your ass hurting? I'm just not going to sit. I'll just stand up the whole time. I didn't need any of my painkillers as I was, so maybe I could try a few drinks here tonight. So I've been wanting some high noons. So we'll do that. I normally been eating them Oxycontins all day, make you feeling like you're flying all day. So I got to wean off those things. It ain't good to keep eating them things. The safety meetings, my buddy was yelling at me yesterday. Give me them things. You don't need them things. I'm like, have you seen my ass, pal? I need those things. But either way, like I said, glad to be here. As Greg says, trust the process. You guys have listened to me all damn season. I talk about the same stuff. I like to look at the same things. It's like playing cards or poker. You just live by your process. You ain't going to win every time, but if you keep on, you're going to win in those scenarios. That's what we're just trying to get across here when we talk about all the different things here that we're going to look at. But hey, we got some pitching we can talk about. We got a handful of dudes over 8K over here on DK today, starting off with Scooble up on top. Obviously, a guy here in line for the Cy Young big game there. We're looking at that game we talked about, your game there. We got Cease and Valdez, the next highest two pitchers in a game that I'm, 6.5 total. So I think both of these guys could be in play. Sonny Gray against a bad Pittsburgh team that's been struggling here. Obviously without some of them lefties there, if I haven't seen if O'Neal Cruz is going to be in there, but obviously that can affect, Miller against Seattle. I'm not quite sure there. I don't know about really the upside. And then, you got Peralta, who, has been getting beat up a little bit. I'm not sure if I quite like that. You got Bibby against Minnesota, Ober, Schwallenbach's in there, Francis, Bradford, Houck. 1, 2, what do we got? About a dozen dudes today over 8K. We haven't had that many in a while. I know we got 12 games, but man, BJ, how is it looking for you? Scooble stands out to me. I think Valdez looks pretty good. Gray looks good. But how you got him here? What are you thinking?
So we'll start off first with, my overall play of the day. And I would assume the chalk a little early now, a couple hours still out away from kind of getting some nailed down projections. But Sonny Gray at home versus Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's essentially out of the playoff run. There's no reason to rush back Cruz. He's their guy. So I think this is another weak lineup. We attacked it last night with Lance Lynn, and he pitched well. Now a 30% strikeout rate. I believe he's going to be my clear and top number one. Next for me, Scooble. He's same thing, almost identical strikeout rates. In a good spot, versus the Royals. They haven't really, been playing the best. We target them in some matchups, but not targeting them here. I think for the next two pitchers in line, the Cease and the Valdez, as I'm going down the DraftKings salaries here, this is just your classic playoff matchup, 6.5, a good little pitcher's park. I don't even know if it's necessarily a must win for the Astros, but definitely for the Padres, 3.5 back, I believe, behind the Dodgers. I think I'm siding Valdez on this side though. Cease just hasn't looked great. He had was it against San Francisco last time out? Last time against San Francisco, he pitched well, but really looking back into July, I can't really pick a start that I'm happy with since his no-hitter, right? He throws the no-hitter and he's kind of just, not been pitching very well since then. So I'm kind of off that train at 9,800. And then it becomes just kind of a cluster down here. All these guys are very similarly priced, all within about $1,000 in salary. And it's really hard for me to pick one out. There's 12 games. There's so many options. This is going to lead us to not having a bunch of stacks that we love as you look into the bats, just because we have all these pretty solid pitchers with solid statistics in okay spots. So I if you can help me out, kind of leading this bottom half of, below Sonny Gray to, Hook. I can't find a guy that really stands out. I think Schwallenbach is going to get a little bit of ownership, but I don't like the park. I don't like attacking the Yankees, so Miller's off my list. Next in line would probably be this Bowden Francis guy who's been pitching really well, but, Rangers put up a ton of runs last night. It's kind of scary. So I don't know. I kind of want to talk through some of these with you. And if you have anybody that stands out, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, going to Francis, he has been pitching well, especially like the last 6 weeks or so. If you want to ride the hot wave, I could understand that. What scares me, and I actually kind of was a little disappointed in myself yesterday when I got off the show. Texas and Toronto's bullpens both suck. They're both like in the top 5 of ERA, like bad. Like they're just not all that good. And I thought to myself last night, when I was sitting there, I thought, if I was making a bunch of teams, I think that game's just because those bullpens sucked. And, it was a couple, pitchers that we liked, but I mean, they're not, they weren't just shutdown pitchers. So, I mean, I think Francis is interesting. It just worries me with both of them, like the bullpens. Toronto, it's just not a team that I've been playing much of. I'm not really afraid of that power. Texas, yeah, I played some of them. You got Bradford there. I think you can make a case for Francis. I just think it's pretty risky. I think there's quite a few options here today that could put up some big numbers. I mean, you could see a big number from Skubal, Cease, Valdez, Gray, and even going down to Dean Creamer, and even Cortez. I think you could have some, 25, 30 spots on DK or a 45, 50 spot plus on FanDuel. So, I think today you're going to want to be a little bit more specific, maybe not take as many chances with your pitching, not get sucked into maybe some of these other guys that I think are really risky, like a Peralta, I think is fairly risky. I mean, I'm just looking at the pitching in the top half. Really, I think for me, I think I'm going to just be narrow with it. I think, Skubal, Gray, we haven't got to Kramer yet. I do like him. And then maybe Valdez and Cease. And you mentioned Cease has been struggling a little bit, so I do have him down a little bit. I think the strikeout potential, obviously, with him is there, but I do like Valdez and Gray better. So, I mean, just kind of looking, I think interesting top-level half here. But I think for me, I'd probably go Gray 1, Skubal 2, Valdez 3, and then Cease 4, and then maybe if I wanted to take a shot on somebody like Francis or Schwellenbach. Schwellenbach's like a little ground ball lean. Strikeouts are there, especially to the right side. I mean, he's 32%, 22% to the left side. Ground balls 43% to the right, 39% to the left. Fly ball percentage a little bit more to the left. I mean, I do like it when the Reds do have a right. I don't like it when they face a lefty. I do prefer Ellie to be from the left side, Friedel, Fraley. I mean, I get afraid of the park. I don't know. It just kind of worries me a little bit. I think there's better opportunities here today. But what do you got there in the top? You rank them for me. Like I ranked the top 4 that I had. I don't see anybody really outside of the, I don't see anybody that's going to wow anybody that I mentioned. I think it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I would agree. Gray, Skubal, Valdez, and then I'm throwing Francis in there. I think you said Ceased and Swallenbach. I think exactly what you said. I think how we're going to get different than the field by making a handful of lineups is just being really narrow on these selections here. A lot of people, if they're making a handful of lineups, let's say you're playing a 20 max and you're using the SHIPIT. A lot of these guys are going to mix in some of these middle tier guys and say, oh, if I get this right, I don't think it's a day for that. I mean, it's just pick who your favorites are, roll it, kind of take your stance. If you're wrong, you're wrong. Close the laptop, move on to tomorrow. But I couldn't agree more. I'm getting a ton of Sonny, ton of Skubal, and we're going to keep Francis up there. I get it. Bullpens are bad, but at sub 5% owned, maybe on this DraftKings slate, strikeout upside is there. And then last 2 notes before we move on. One, Swallenbach, I mean, it's really the park, and fly balls are up, and looking at, he might get somewhere between 15 and 20% ownership. I think it's definitely a stay away for me. And then additionally, just to kind of look at the last couple of games for Francis, I mean, six earned runs in the last 6 games, so, this time of the year, I really want to focus on guys that are kind of pitching well in their last 30, 45 days. And he checks that box, and sub 5% on a big slate with strikeout upside. I'll take it.
Absolutely. So just looking here at below 8K, there's a handful of guys. I mean, you're looking at Hertz against the Mets. I'm not really interested. Now, Cortez against Seattle. Obviously, we like attacking Seattle. I'd rather, obviously, it be a righty. But I like the park out there in Seattle. Cortez, I mean, it's a decent price, $7,800. He had, 23 points, 19 points, 23 and 26. He had that dud -3, but 4 out of his last 5 starts. If you're telling me I'm getting 26 out of Nestor Cortez at 7,800 over there on DK, I'm going to be pretty happy with that. So I don't mind the Nestor Cortez call. I'm just kind of curious to me really about the upside as far as the strikeout upside. I mean, just kind of looking at Cortez, with his numbers, it just, he's hit or miss sometimes for me. I mean, you look at his number, 27% strikeout rate to the left side, 21 to the right. I mean, they're going to throw out a pretty much an all-righty lineup here at him here tonight. So definitely something to be considered. Ground ball rate is 32% to the right side, fly ball rate 31%, 37% fly ball left. So I mean, he gives up fly balls, so we like the park in Seattle. So I don't mind going here to Nestor Cortez. I think he's somebody that's interesting. Pepio, man, his strikeouts have just been down. I mean, he's below 20% in those last 4 or 5 starts. That just kind of does concern me here against Boston. I obviously prefer Boston. If I'm going to go against Boston, I need it to be a lefty. So not really concerned there. Knack, I'm not sure about. Marsh, Quintana. Kramer now I think is really interesting here, and it's 22%, 6,200 against San Fran. I mean, if I can get a 20 spot out of Kramer, which 23 points, 28 points his last 2 starts, 7 innings, 6 innings, give up 1 earned run. Kramer's in play here. I think Kramer might be the chalkiest pitcher on DK, if you ask me, just because of his price. So I'm not sure he's going to be that on FanDuel, but on DK, I think Kramer's going to have some pretty high. I think he's going to be in the higher 30. I think he's going to be highly. I think percentage is going to be pretty high just because of his price. And Woodford, Junis, Birdsong, not really going there. But I mean, these lower tiers, I think Cortez and for me, it would definitely be Kramer. I think Kramer is an excellent play. At 6,200, I mean, he can give up 3-4 runs. He can give up 3 runs and get, 6-7 Ks and still can get you the points you need. So I think Kramer's interesting. Kramer and like Skubal, Kramer and Gray, I think would be a pretty popular. I think Kramer and Gray probably be the 2 popular pitchers on DK. But what do you think of that lower tier? Is anybody else in them 2 guys that I missed that maybe you had an eye on?
No, that you drilled it. Kramer, I mean, I'm hoping he's not as low owned or as high owned. I saw some projections earlier and it looked like it was sub 20, but I agree. I think the Gray Kramer is going to be so popular. Most popular on the slate. It's going to be Kramer out coming off back-to-back 7K games, win equities there against this Giants team that's been striking out. Then a really close second is Cortez. I agree with that. And on DraftKings, I don't mind Quintana. Like, he's for almost a 50% ground ball rate. We're not really scared of this Nats team. It's just kind of one of those things. If you're making lineups, we're not really getting different on top if you kind of keep that core. And so let's say you're making 5 lineups and you really like Skubal, you want to mix it with different lower owned guys down low. I think he should be in the mix. Just somebody that's not going to hurt you and kind of opens up bats. Because like you said, this lower tier, besides Kramer and Cortez, there's nobody. And, it's really tough to get some of these stacks that we're going to talk about if you go a couple of these guys up top. So don't mind it, but really it's just those 3 for me. I mean, if anybody else has a question about who they're thinking this low range, we could answer it, but I don't see anybody that's even worth talking about.
I think Quintana is definitely the pivot off Kramer. If you wanted to pivot off him, I think you're going to see a good percentage of lineups probably go with that cheap pitcher. I mean, you add Skubal and Kramer together, you're only talking, you spent 16.4 or 16.8 on pitching. So what, you're averaging 8,400 a pitcher. I mean, you're talking about, 2 Schwellenbachs basically, and you're getting 2 guys like that. I think that's going to kind of be the popular route as we were talking. So yeah, I think Quintana is a pivot. I just don't see really anybody else down there that I think has the upside. I mean, we're looking for anybody down there below that 7K range. If I can get 20, 25 points out of them, I mean, that's about what I'm expecting, right? I mean, 3 times their value generally is what I'm trying to get. So, if Kramer get me 20 at 6.2 or Quintana at 6.5, I mean, that's definitely what you're hunting for. But I think Kramer is going to get quite a bit of ownership. I'm going to guess he probably is going to be the highest owned. I could be wrong. I'm just thinking that 6,200 price, people are going to not be comfortable with some of the bats out there today. So I think you may see some people pay up, but I think Kramer will be interesting. But rank them for me, all the pitching combined, even with Kramer. I actually would throw Kramer in higher I think I would end up going with like, Gray, Skubal, and then I think I'd probably look at Kramer. I think I'd put him in the third range for me, and then I'd probably go Valdez. Just because of the price difference. I mean, we're talking a $3,300 difference between the two. So I think Kramer that's why I think he's going to be higher owned.
Yeah, I would say I would agree. So for me, it's Gray, Skubal, Kramer. And then the real discussion for me, if we're doing a top 5, is do we slide in Cortez above Valdez? Cortez, I think, just has a little bit more upside in that spot if he pitches well, rather than all the ground balls from Valdez and his price. So it's really kind of like a 4A and a 4B there, kind of coin flipping, build the other half of your lineup and mix in 4. And then Francis for me. And that's essentially my entire, pitching core. I mean, you can throw Quintana here at the end. But I'm not really touching anybody else of these 24 pitchers aside from those 7 guys.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Cortez is, I mean, at his price, I mean, 7,800. You look at Valdez, who's 9.5, so it's $1,700 difference. And you kind of look at the game logs; they're not too far off from each other, really. I mean, as you mentioned, Valdez isn't, he's not going to throw 10 Ks at you. That's not him. I mean, he's consistently 6 to 8. I mean, he's had a couple games with 10. But, I mean, it's just not something that Valdez has been doing here. I mean, he's always right around mid-90 pitches, right around 100. I mean, he's a quality start machine. So, I mean, I like that on FanDuel. That's what I like. I like them quality start machines. Like we had one yesterday with Wheeler. I mean, I jammed in Wheeler in a lineup yesterday. I mean, didn't all work out the greatest, but still, it's a quality start machine. Getting that extra points there on FanDuel definitely does matter. But, yeah, I think pitching's interesting today. I think, other than Peralta, I'm going to keep it a little tighter. So, I mean, other than Kramer, I like Kramer, Cortez, Skubal, Valdez, and Gray. I do like Gray. Probably would be my number 1 here today. Skubal would be 2. But, yeah, I think it's interesting. Definitely interesting pitching slate. As we mentioned, remember, everybody, 6:35. We got early start, so make sure – get over there and make sure your lineups are in. 7 games we mentioned are pretty early. So definitely a lot of earlier stuff today. And what is this? What do we got here now? And how is your ass holding up today, my guy? It's holding up there, buddy. Don, it's holding up. I'm trying. I try to get along. I made a mistake yesterday, ate a peanut donut and a caramel apple with peanuts on it. And that's not pleasant when you're behind the door. Taking the old number 2, it wasn't pretty. So, but hey, either way, I'm gonna get through it all. I don't care. It ain't gonna hold me back. It could be worse. I just a double asshole now because I got 2 holes in my ass. But whatever, I'll be all right. I'm gonna make it, BJ. I am gonna make it.
I love it. You're on the Dwight Howard injury watch. I bring that up because he's on Dancing with the Stars. So I watched that last time with my lady, and I was like, no. Listen, you have to understand what exactly happened in this scenario. She's like, because who's Dwight Howard, right? Yeah, and so I had fun kind of showing her a few things from that. But the Gyiraszin Dwight Howard injury designation.
That'd be me. If I had to be on that Dancing with the Stars, I am not a very good dancer. I always went to weddings. I held up the bar, make sure everybody was having shots, having fun. That wasn't me out there dancing on the dance floor. Now, if you see me dancing, I am extremely trashed. The only time I really danced, I went to a Snoop Dogg and Ice Cube concert, and I think I danced the whole damn time, BJ. I was having a blast. I had a lot of fun at that one. It's probably the most fun I've had at a concert. But listen, we got 12 damn games we got to talk about. So let's get on it here. We got San Fran and Baltimore right out the gate, over under 8. Baltimore a little bit of a favorite here. San Fran rolling out Birdsong. We got Kramer for Baltimore. I like me some Dean Kramer. I can't say that I'm interested here in any of these Giants bats, but man, I think I might have a little interest in some of these Orioles bats against Birdsong coming out the gate here. I think the Orioles lineup top to bottom is pretty good. I think I'm going to have the Orioles probably in my top 5 in my stacks coming right out here to the gate. We got a game over under 8. As I mentioned, we got 7 games under that 8 mark, 7.5 or lower. So, man, I think Baltimore is interesting here. I don't want anything to do with the Giants, but what do you think of these O's?
I agree. No Giants for me. I'm on the everything Baltimore train today. I'm hesitant to say it because we're so early in the show, but I think Baltimore is just my favorite all-around full stack on the entire slate. We're going to talk about Dodgers. We're going to talk about Braves. I think they get some ownership, but I mean, we want to attack a guy that has almost a 15% walk rate. I know his strikeouts are there, but there's just, when you walk that many batters and you have a power team, it's a very ugly combo. And when you have guys that can hit the ball, I'm all over it. So last week, when you were gone with Tidal, I was all over the Orioles in Fenway, and it didn't quite get there. We were also on some Brewers against Birdsong, last week. So I'm staying on the train. I'm everything Baltimore. I'm all over Kramer. I'm all over full stacks. I'm all over the -160 at home. I'm a Baltimore Orioles fan today.
I mean, he did give up 0 runs his last start there. It wasn't bad for him, but the 2 starts before, he gave up 7 earned runs in 6 innings. So been getting beat up a little bit here. Kramer, fly ball rates right around 29, 28%, both sides. Ground ball rate at 41%. Strikeout rate low, 21% to the righties, 23% to the lefties. So, yeah, I actually like Baltimore. I'm not sure if I'm ready to call them my number 1 yet. They're up there. They're close. I might even say top 3 because you mentioned the Braves and the Dodgers. But, yeah, Orioles coming out the gate. Definitely something I might want a piece of. Definitely like me some of these Orioles bats.
And I'm hoping that this weather kind of scares people off. Like it's like a yellow right now the last time I looked. But looking at some of these projections, I mean, Gunner's going to be the most, popular guy amongst them. But I mean, I think you get everybody else at sub 6%, sub 7%. So I think the weather kind of scares some people off. Some of these Dodger bats we're going to get to people like a little bit more. Orioles haven't been playing that well, but I think it's a little sneaky spot to start off the day. I can't wait for this game to start.
Yeah, Orioles, I mean, they got a lot of talent up and down that lineup. Definitely in play today. That's the first game coming out the gate, 6:35, not 6:40, 6:35. So make sure, don't get burned by that 5 minutes. But we do have 4 games at 6:40 we're getting into here. We start off here with the Minnesota Twins and Cleveland Indians, 7.5. We got Bailey Ober against Bibby. I mean, both pitchers are decent. You're looking at 26%, the lefties for Bibby, 27% strikeout rate against the righties, ground ball rate, 38% to right, 30% to left. His fly ball rate, a little higher to left, 34%. I do prefer the Twins when they can roll out some of these lefties here. Julian, the Wallners. I think Wallner wouldn't be a bad one-off. I don't like the stack against the Indians. The Indians have one of the best bullpen in all of MLB. I do not like to mess with that Indians bullpen. So no, thank you. I don't want any part of that, which kind of does make it tough. We're sitting here at a game at 7.5. Cleveland against Ober. I mean, he's got a fly ball rate, 36% to lefties. I mean, you want to look at somebody like Naylor, Jimenez, Jose Ramirez. I mean, they're going to throw Will Brennan, Bull Naylor. I mean, they got some lefties they could throw at him. I'm just not really interested here in stacking up the Twins. Maybe if you want to look at a one-off or so, I can't blame you. Maybe some of these Indians, the Nailers, maybe Ramirez. But at stacks, I'm going to leave this game alone from both sides. But I want to maybe pick a one-off or two. I can't blame you. I can't say that I'm sitting there looking at it, but definitely some like Wallners you mentioned, but there is some pinch hit risk there too.
Yeah, no, I mean, I couldn't agree more. And I'm just going to extra highlight Josh Naylor as probably my favorite bat in this game. But with 12 games, I mean, once I looked at this, I kind of essentially crossed it off, and I'm going to keep moving. I respect both the pitchers on both sides.
I hear you there. This one too here with the bats, Valdez and Cease, as we were talking about. I mean, 6.5 total. Both pitchers. I love games that 2 pitchers are battling each other. I think it's just healthy for the both pitching, especially. So, I mean, if you want to I can't blame you if you like either one of these pitchers. I don't see any reason to play any of these bats here against Framber. Obviously a ground ball pitcher. I don't see any reason to go against Cease. As you mentioned, he has struggled a little bit. But, man, on such a big slate, I don't think it's any reason to try to force something. So I'm just going to leave it be. It's a 6.5 total. I mean, I'm not that smarter than Vegas. I'm not going to stack them up. Team totals are low. I'll just leave it be. What do you think?
Yeah, if we were playing in Houston, not in San Diego, I could argue finding that cheap little one-off on the Astros side. But this is when I see this game and I look at this total, I look at these pitchers. Like I said earlier, this is playoff baseball. I'm staying out of the way. If this was a showdown game, which we'll get to in a couple of weeks once playoffs start. This is 2 relief pitchers in my lineup type stuff. You know what I mean? You get a starter, a couple of relief pitchers, staying away from these bats. So, I hate to go, 2 games back to back where we're not really talking about anybody, but I think you're pretty safe if you kind of X off bats from this game as well.
Yeah, I mean, 340 start out there in the West Coast too, so a little something else to think about there. But other game we got here, I think we're going to get some offense in this one. We got the highest game total, 640 Dodgers at Miami. Miami's just been giving up runs in bunches, bullpen shit. Ever since that trade deadline, they decimated that bullpen. But, I mean, Dodgers going to be in a good spot here. You got them on the road. You got Ryan Weathers here, the lefty, 21% K percentage to the right side, 26 to the left. Ground ball percentage, 56 to left, 51 to right. Fly ball percentage, 20% to both sides. So obviously I'm going to be looking for some guys here that can hit the ball in the air. I've talked about that 30% range for sure you want to be looking at. Ohtani's only 27%, but you got Mookie Betts sitting at 33%, Will Smith, 45%, Edmund, 36%, Muncy, 40%, Kike, do you love me? He's at 33%. I mean, you got some guys here on the Dodgers that can hit some fly balls. So I think it's definitely interesting here to play some Dodgers. I think they're going to be one of the more popular stacks here today. But, man, I think you can stack them up. Dodgers 1 through 9. I like it all the way up and down.
Yeah, I'll let you talk about that because that's pretty clear and easy. I agree with everything. I'm here for the sneaky Marlin stack. I mean, we look at this Nat guy. He's been getting hit hard, a lot of fly balls, not a lot of ground balls. You get these Marlins pretty cheap, and you start to look at some of these bats. You got Norby, Sanchez, Berger. I mean, these are guys that I don't mind playing. I know it's a big slate, but we're going to need some of these guys to fill out lineups. And when I'm looking at some of these salaries, I mean, you get Sanchez batting third at 3,500. I know he takes up an outfield spot, but I mean, we're talking about, almost 40% fly balls and getting hit hard at 50%. I'll sign me up for some of that at sub 5%. Norby's Norby, I mean, his price is up a little bit, but the Marlins are going to classify as, sneaky minis. And I'm going to utilize that lineup up and down to kind of fill in a one-off spot to finish off my full stacks.
Yeah, I mean, Nack's a fly ball pitcher. I mean, 35% to lefties, 32% to righties. His fly ball rates are actually higher than his ground ball rate. So, I mean, K percentage, 25% to lefty, 20% to righties. I mean, that Norby kid is something else. I was kind of hoping the Tigers would have got him. I mean, they literally said he's like from home back around the bases. Like he's like the fastest dude in baseball. Like, I don't know if too many people even knew that, but they were saying that kid, I mean, he's like a rocket out of home plate. He's fast as can be. But I mean, Berger, I mean, he's had a good season, good run. I think for me, Miami could be like a mini, maybe. It's just that lineup 1 through 9, man. I just don't feel like it can turn it over all that much. I mean, the Dodger bullpen is a little bit better than average, I'd say, but not terrible, not great. But yeah, I think it's definitely something, to look at with these Dodgers. The Marlins, I don't mind. As you mentioned, Norby, I think Berger could be somebody I could get on board with. But just real quick, saying real high. Pogen starter, we got Nades in the house. It says Gray and Kramer season. We kind of talked about it earlier. We think that's going to be the most popular pitching duo over there on DK. But yeah, Pogen Stoner, appreciate you guys all being here. But let's move on to this other game here. We got at 640 Atlanta and Cincinnati. Another game I think we can get some offense from. I like the Braves here against Cincinnati. I mean, we obviously like the park. Great American Home Run Park. I like that. So, I mean, I like they get the 9th inning at bat. Definitely like that. Jacob Junis, I mean, not really too worried about him. Low strikeout pitcher, ground ball rate, 42% to lefties, 35% to righties. Fly ball rate a little higher to the left side. I mean, Olsen, Harris, I think is interesting. I think this whole lineup is interesting from Atlanta here today. You know, I can get on board with some Atlanta here. Game total 8.5. I mean, we're looking at the second highest game total here. So obviously they're liking some Braves, but man, I think the Braves are in a pretty good spot. I got Braves, Orioles, and Dodgers all in my top 3. I think those are my top 3 today.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm also willing to attack with some of these Reds lefties here. Is their lineup out? I want to look. Yeah, it's out. Let's see. I mean, damn, it's really just Ellie and Friedel for me. So, I wanted to kind of hopefully sneak in, and have Friedel batting up a little bit, but might be an X off. But you can always play Ellie in general, but especially with a lefty for Swallenbach. I'm down for that. But yeah, couldn't agree more on the Braves side. I mean, they're right behind the Orioles for me. I think I'm gonna, put them ahead of the Dodgers. Just because, I think this lineup's a little bit easier to stack, and I, don't mind kind of wrapping this lineup, especially if Merrifield bats at the bottom. Yeah, no, couldn't agree more. I'm all over this game, and I think it's going to be popular as well.
Yeah, I think you'll see some. I mean, you can play everybody. I don't mind wrapping Merrifield around either. I'm just wanting to look here at something real quick with that Cincinnati bullpen. I mean, they're not all that great either, kind of middle of the road. But yeah, I think this one's definitely interesting. I think the Braves will go a little bit under owned more so than the Dodgers and probably Orioles. I think that they'll probably come in third, but I definitely think they're up there in the top 3 for me today. As we mentioned, we got 7 games under 8 totals, so out of 12. So sitting here at 8.5 and 9, these last 2 games we talked about, Dodgers and Braves. Obviously, that's where that is coming from. But another game before 7-10, we got Boston and Tampa sitting at 7.5. Sitting here looking at Tanner Houck against Ryan Pepio. I mean, neither guy is somebody I really like to attack. Pepio, obviously, 25% strikeout to lefties, 24 to righties. Ground ball percentage, big difference. Lefties 42, 29 to righties, 37% fly ball to righties. I mean, I obviously prefer these Red Sox. When we're looking for lefties, I mean, just kind of looking at these reverse splits that we're seeing here from Pepio. I mean, Tyler O'Neill might be somebody. Devers obviously hits really well. But, yeah, I can't say that I'm really interested in any of these Red Sox stacks. I'm just not going to go there. I got them further down the line. I think I'd even have the Tigers probably higher than the Red Sox. But, yeah, I don't think I could go there here. I'm just going to leave it alone. I kind of respect both pitchers. But, yeah, I'm just going to leave it be. That Boston bullpen does stink, though, by the way. I'm not a fan of that Boston bullpen.
Yeah, I just think I'm a little bit more on the Red Sox side here. I mean, if you're looking at the last, 30 days, which is 105 at bats against Pepio, I mean, he's just not playing well. I mean, strikeout below 20%, walk rate almost around 10, giving up power, giving up base runners. He's not getting hit super hard. It's just kind of, what we're seeing here. I don't mind it. I mean, we know these Red Sox can load up some lefties. Like you said, reverse split. So I'm really good, 1 through 6. I mean, I'm sick of Connor Wong, man. I don't know if I talked about it last time, but I was riding him early in the season. It was so much fun to watch, and I feel like he couldn't hit a beach ball right now. So
I'm writing down Connor Wong. Y'all watched yesterday, and he said Castellanos is on his shit list.
I almost said that. In the Discord. I was like, as soon as I say it,
I'm like, man, I gotta text BJ right now, man. He says like he was ripping on somebody the one day at a homer yesterday. It's just funny.
Once they go on my shit list, I mean, they're gonna get hot. So watch out. So
right,
Connor Wong has now been elevated for the next 10 days, 10-day contract.
That's funny.
Oh man. But no, I mean, moving on. I mean, I don't want to touch any of these Rays bats. For me personally, I respect Hook a little bit, and like I said, just Red Sox lefties with Tyler O'Neill.
Sounds good. But we got another one here, 7-10. Washington. We're halfway through. 12 games. Got a big one. We got Washington and the Mets sitting at a 7 total. We got DJ Hertz here going up against Jose Quintana. We mentioned Quintana, we kind of respected him. I mean, this really young Nats lineup, I'm really not interested in. You got Dylan Cruz up at the top. I just not enough there for me to look at them. Now the Mets, I don't mind attacking them here against a lefty. We talked a little bit about that yesterday, especially with like JD, Vientos, Alonso. I don't mind that at all. Hurts, 29% strikeout to righties, 26% to lefties. Ground ball percentage is at 36%. Fly ball percentage to righties at 31. So, looking at guys like Alonso, Marte, Vientos, JD, Tyrone Taylor, I think I'm interested in these guys more of a mini stack. It just kind of scares me. We're sitting here at a game of 7, but the Mets are sitting at a game total, sitting here at 4. We only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams. We got 6 teams sitting over 4. We got 4 or 5 teams at 4. So, it's not like they're way off. They definitely can be in play. They did do the number for us yesterday. That Washington bullpen isn't all the greatest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're 8th, 9th in ERA. So, I could get on board with some Mets. I think they might be my sneakier stack, but I like the middle part of that lineup. Alonso got it done for us yesterday. I generally like JD against lefties. So I can get on board here with some Mets. I think more of a mini. I can't say they're in my top 3, but they'd be up there.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. They kind of threw JD down a little bit farther in the lineup and have Taylor batting over him. I haven't been super dialed to this lineup recently, so I don't know if that's been a thing. But they were fun to watch last night. You just felt confident once we were in the box. So I completely agree with that. And then to add more on the Nat side, I don't want to touch any of those bats. No, thank you.
Yeah, Quintana, he's just hard to stack against. He's a ground ball pitcher. It's just frustrating stacking against him. I've tried to do it before thinking we're going to get him, and it just never seems to pan out. But big game here in Detroit here. Everybody be watching the Tigers going out to KC, 7.5 total, 7:40 start. We got the horse, the Cy Young winner for this season, which I would assume Tarek Skubal, going against the Royals. Not interested in any of these guys here. The strikeout percentage, the righties 31%. He's at 25% to lefties. He's going to basically see all righty lineup here tonight. So, ground ball percentage at 42%. I'm going to leave these Royals alone. I can't get on board. Now, the Tigers against Marsh, I think is interesting. Parker Meadows has been smashing the ball. He's been stealing bags. Carpenter's got a lot of power. His 416 WOBA. Riley Green, I like the top half of this lineup. Tigers have been playing pretty well. Even Sweeney at the bottom part, Jace Jung, I don't mind. Rogers sitting in 9 holes, got power. I don't mind these Royals. I might actually, or Tigers. Even though trying to be a homer, I think I got, Orioles, Dodgers, Braves, Mets. I think I'll probably put the Tigers a little higher in the Mets. So maybe I have the Tigers in my top 5, just talking out loud. But I think it's a decent spot here for the Tigers. Been putting up some runs. But, they're fairly cheap. I think Parker Meadows in the top of that lineup is definitely interesting. He's been, like I said, been stealing a lot of bags.
Yeah, no, you brought up Parker Meadows, which is there. Mine's Kerry Carpenter. For the season, a 316 ISO and a 416 WOBA, versus right-handed pitching. It's fantastic. So any of these, my number would be the top 4. So, I don't mind kind of getting a mini out of there or kind of doing whatever, but forget about you being a homer. They were on my list as far as mini stacks goes, and I really like it. I don't want to touch Royals today. Too big of a slate, but I'm over some of these specifically lefties. So I don't care if you go Green, Carpenter, Meadows. I kind of like that mini there to lead off if they go 1 through 4.
Yeah, I think Tigers are definitely interesting. Michael Peterson asks, what do you guys think of Skubal's prop 14.5? He's going 5. He'll go 5 innings. So I think that's a good bet. I would take that. I would, the strikeouts prop might scare me a little bit. With the Royals, he's sitting at a 6.5K prop. I just don't. The Royals, other than Gurriel and DeJong, who probably are going to be his candidates for some strikeouts. You got a lot of guys in the teens at the top of that lineup. So I think the strikeout prop is a little riskier. I do like the out prop though. He should get a quality start. If he's pitching well, they're going to leave him be. This is a very important game. and he knows it, and Scooble knows it. So he can win this game here tonight. I mean, the Tigers' percentage for playoff spot goes up immensely. So I think very big game. I'm glad we got Scooble on the mound. He knows Hinch is going to leave him out there. Like some other guys like Mize, I think, going to have a little shorter leash. But a guy like Scooble, who's your horse, you ride him. I mean, that's just what you do. So I think these Tiger bats are interesting. But, I mean, we're sitting there at a 7.5 total. I mean, we got a bunch of 7.5 totals, and you're sitting there saying you like offense. Generally, I haven't been doing that much. But I think it's definitely interesting here to look. And KC's bullpen is not all that great either. I mean, they're in the top 10 as far as worst bullpens, and they've been struggling recently. So definitely like that. Nate says Salvi Perez home run call. I don't know about that, man. I think I'd find some other things to bet on than be betting against Scooble. But either way, I better be getting some good odds on old Salvi. That is for sure. But hey, we'll talk about Nate's team, the Brew Crew, sitting here at 7.5 with these Phillies. I mean, we got Peralta against Nola. I'm not interested really in, I can't even really say that. I think both of them are interesting, to be honest. Both pitchers have not been, I mean, just look at Nola, his game log, 7 points, 5 points. He's been struggling mightily. 10 earned runs in his last 8 innings. I mean, that's interesting. And then you're looking at Peralta. He's kind of been struggling. I mean, you look at him here recent times. He's had 7 earned runs his last 3 starts, 17-point, a 6-pointer. So, I mean, Nola's been struggling a little bit. Peralta's been struggling a little bit. I mean, do you got any interest in either one of these teams? I think if I did, I think I'd probably lean Brewers. But, I mean, I think it's there. Nola's been getting beat up. I think the Brewers are kind of interesting. Maybe it's something we could look at. Might be a little sneakier than everybody else is thinking.
Yeah, no, I'm going to verify that these ownership, are close to what I'm thinking. But I'm on the other side. I'm on the Phillies here. I mean, Peralta's had at least 2 walks in every start except one since late June. So all of July, all of August, at least 2 walks. I mean, his strikeout percentage the last 30 days is under 20% as a whole. Walk rates are 11.5. He's been giving up fly balls almost 40% to the right-hand side. I'm on these Phillies here, and I don't mind just taking one of Bryce and Schwarber and getting all the bats around him. Unfortunately, today will be the day that I don't mind playing Castellanos and then go for 4 with 3 strikeouts. But this is a sneaky stack spot for me. I mean, people are going to see Freddie and they're going to stay away. But he's not in the best shape right now. And when you're giving up, over your last 40 minutes to the right-handed side, he's giving up hard contact at 60% with a 40% fly ball rate. So I didn't really look too much into the Brewer side. I'll take a deeper dive into that after the show, but you got me thinking about them, and I am all over these Phillies.
So Jake Swall says they're going to smash it up and lock up that division crown tonight. So that could be something definitely in play here today. Stowell Water says Ozuna or Harris or Shohei or Harris. I can't argue with either one of those, Shohei or Ozuna, really. I think they're both of them decent spots. I mean, yeah, that'd be a coin flip for me. I mean, both of them obviously are hitting a bunch of homers. So, yeah, I think that one is a little tougher. Nate says Ozuna. I mean, I like to play Shohei when I can, but I don't mind either one. So let's move on. I'll tell you what, though, kind of laughing, what we were talking about when you were I was talking about Castellanos. So we had a buddy over yesterday where that game was on. We were watching it, and I told him, I can't stand Bryce Harper, man. I think he's overrated, and it fucker hit a home run. So he's my guy. It's a thorny. He's better than what I say. He is. He's just, every time I play him, he just never does anything for me. But I can play Kike because he loves me, and that guy will hit a home run for me. Whenever I play Kike, that guy does well for me. But, Bryce Harper, on the other hand, maybe it's because I played him in a live final and he was the dud, and I was trying to decide between him and JD had 2 homers, and Harper went for shit. So it's still a thorn in my ass because I probably would have shipped the whole damn thing that day. So, yeah, it's just kind of hard to get over it sometimes. But Harper, if I say he sucks, he's going to hit a homer. So we got Wong homer tonight, and we got a Harper homer because
that's it. Lock it up. The reversed home run parlay. I love it.
Yeah, there you go. So But another team I think I might have a little interest in, we got Pittsburgh and St. Louis. Now, we were on St. Louis a little bit yesterday. They get Jake Woodford. I was on them a little yesterday. They didn't do all that great for us, but they're sitting here in a higher run total, 4-7. You got Wynn, Burleson, Goldschmidt, Arenado, Newbar, Walker. I don't mind the top maybe 7 in this lineup here. Woodford, very low strikeout percentage. So I can get on board here with some cards. That is for sure. Pittsburgh bullpen, 4th worst in all of MLB. Cards at home, I don't mind it. Hasn't been a team I've been stacking too much this year, but I think they're in play today, especially with that team total. So a fairly cheap stack. I can get on board with some cards.
Yep, I'm all over that, and everything that you just said. They might be, inside my top 5 late just because they're so cheap, and it gives us the ability to jump up into 2 of those studs up top. I've already placed the Cardinals money line, Orioles money line parlay there. So that's already been locked and loaded since about 9 a.m. this morning. So I'm all over this Cardinals win at home. Let's go finish and watch the Orioles and Cardinal little double stack go. But everybody in this lineup, really, like what you said, 1 through 7, Jordan Walker just makes me nervous. He's striking out, at 32% versus righties. So it's quite a number. I know Goldie's touching 30% for the season, but all over it. No Pittsburgh bats for me. I'm all over Sonny Gray.
Yeah, we got Power. Michael Peterson telling us Rojas got scratched out of the Dodgers lineup. So keep an eye on that one. If you already built your teams, make sure you guys go or check that out for sure. But yeah, I got interested in that St. Louis lineup. Definitely no interest in Pittsburgh, as you mentioned, Sonny Gray. So yeah, I'm going to fool around with it and see what I come up with. The winner last night, the game last night that everybody wishes they had, the Texas Rangers and Toronto Blue Jays playing softball last night. A couple good pitchers on them. As I mentioned, both these bullpens are very weak. Definitely something, that I kind of like to look at here. We got an 8:05 start. The second latest game on the slate here at 8:05. So that's another thing. 9:40 is the latest game. So pretty early slate here today. So don't be thinking you can swap out anybody late. If so, because you might be running out of options really quick. But Toronto, Texas sitting here at an 8. We got Bowden, Francis. We talked a little bit about. We might have some interest in Cody Bradford, the lefty here. I like the Blue Jays a little bit more against the lefty. They can throw out a bunch of righties at you. Guerrero, Bichette, Springer, Kirk, Schneider. They got all kinds of guys that they'll be able to throw at you. I can't say that I really got any of these guys too high on my list here, but I can't fault you if you're looking at either one. I think I'd probably prefer the Rangers if I had to say I had to pick one here against Francis, just because I think they'd be a lot lower owned. I like the power a little bit more, but we're sitting here at a game total 8. I can't say I like any of it here, but I think it's interesting.
Yeah, just Toronto side for me. I think this is a pretty good spot for Vladdy to hit a bomb tonight. Don't mind Kirk. Don't mind Springer. I'll throw Toronto minis into the mix if I'm making a handful of lineups. But if I'm making 3, 4, 5 lineups or less, probably maybe find a one-off, and that's by far and away my favorite, Vladimir Guerrero.
Michael W. says, play some Kiki, you get a 300 tonight. Oh, yeah, hey, that'd be something else. Bowl of 300 with a hole in my ass. You never know, though. I get rolling. I can definitely roll them down. I haven't even looked how many. I get asked, how many 300s, 800s you got? I know I got like 6 800s, but I got at least 14, 15 300s. I don't even know. I lose track after a while. It's not like it used to be. We all used to keep track and, give each other shit who had more. And it's like, who cares? Did you win any money? You didn't. If you bowled 300, you didn't win money. I don't give 2 fucking shits. You might as well go bowl with your kid.
That's the same as golf, right? Oh, how'd you play? Oh, I played great. How much money you win? Whoa, I got a pitcher of beer. All right, don't talk to me. Talk to me.
It's like, I don't.
You got to go the money. Yeah.
Yeah. I bowled 258 on Thursday and won King of the Hill and won at $450. You bowled 300 on Tuesday and won 50. I'll take the 258. That's just the way it goes. Michael W. You're 14. I never had one. I've been bowling since I was a kid. I used to walk the bowling alley. My grandpa gave me a thing of quarters, and I could bowl for $1 or something back then and play pinball all day. That's how he kept me out of the house. And then I got to know all the people at the bowling alley, and then I got to bowl for free. So I've been bowling ever since I've been a kid to keep me out of trouble. glad I did. A lot of fun, met a lot of cool people. But yeah, it's always fun. But guess what? We got one game left. We got the Spankies against the Seattle Mariners here tonight. We got Nestor Cortez, who I thought I had some interest in, and we're going to see pretty much all righty lineup from them Mariners. I love me a righty, a hard pitching righty against Seattle. Love to attack that spot. We got a lefty spot here. I mean, they do have some Ks in that lineup. I do like the park there. He is more of a fly ball pitcher, that being Cortez. So I like the park being out there in Seattle. So, but Bryce Miller here, I mean, 22% to lefties, 26% strike out to righties. Fly ball, he's a little bit higher, almost 39% to lefties, 26 to righties. So, I mean, guy like Juan Soto, Chisholm, Wells, Rizzo, Dominguez, I think he's going to get in there tonight. I think you're interesting. I think I'd rather go the lefties. So I'm going to look at some Yankees. But I don't have the Yankees all that high up there, so can't say I'm going to be looking at them. Late hammer, not interested in any of the Mariners against Cortez. But got any interest in any of these guys? One-offs, maybe a mini with the Yankees?
Yeah, you can play a mini. Don't love the park, but we saw what they did last night. So, I mean, in my minis, I assume Wells is batting in the cleanup spot. So it's Soto and Wells, and then insert your third there. I mean, obviously Judge, but that's very expensive. But I want lefties attack. And on the other side, I kind of missed if you mentioned them, but, Arozarena and Raleigh for me, those are going to just kind of line it up here. I mean, we have a pretty tough little park here with a 7.5 over under. I mean, yeah, it's late night hammer. Always fun to have in your lineup, but nothing jumps off the page at me here.
Yeah, I do like Soto here in this spot. Nate says Soto, Dominguez, Dong. But, yeah, I don't mind that at all. But give me your top couple stacks here before we run out of here. We got, remember, early start, 6:35. Make sure you set your alarms if you haven't already. I know I like to set one usually like 5-10 minutes before a lot of times, especially if it's a change, so I don't get mixed up doing something. Who knows? I could have a safety meeting. Some asshole call me on the phone and start talking about who I'm picking up in my fantasy league and wanting to talk trades, football. And next thing I know, I'm like, fuck, it didn't make a change, or whatever. That shit happens. Obviously, I like to talk, so I keep on talking. But either way, but give me your top stacks here you got for the day.
Orioles, Braves, Dodgers in that order. That's obvious. Then I go Cardinals and sneaky Phillies full stack to take all the money late tonight.
All right. I'm going to go Orioles, Dodgers, Braves. Then I'm going to go Tigers, and then I'm going to go Phillies. And I do like the Mets a little too. So I'll say Phillies and Mets in the same. I got the Tigers a little bit higher than them. So I'm just not trying to be a homer and stack up too many of my Tigers, but I do think they're in a pretty good spot. Kansas City just not been pitching well. Bullpen not been pitching well. I do like the Milwaukee too. I think that it was I think there's a few spots here today to get different. I think it's a pretty cool slate. We got a lot of decent pitching. I'm going to keep it condensed to the guys I mentioned, but hey, let's all kick some ass today. Let's get some stuff going. If you haven't done your waiver wires in football, make sure you check that out. Get that all done for you. Hey, we'll be back here next week, BJ and I. Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll keep talking some baseball as we wind down this season. We appreciate all you guys being here. Do us a favor. Hit that like button on the way out so I don't have to hear that we didn't have any likes on our show today. Then I get another chunk taken out my ass, which isn't fun. But, hey, appreciate y'all being here. We will catch you guys back here on next Tuesday. Make sure you guys check out all our football shows all week. Make sure you guys check that out. We'll have everything for you. And, hey, if you haven't gotten in that free roll, no rake roll we got over there, check out Tambo's Twitter. He's got a $5 tournament for football, no rake. I think it was first 2,000 people. Last I checked, it was getting filled up. So you guys want to go over and check that out. Talk some shit to us if you win that one for sure. But, hey, let's keep us hot over here at SHIPIT. We've had all kinds of winners that we've been putting out there for everybody. We're going to keep it rolling. We'll catch you guys next week. Good luck in all your contests, and let's ship it.